What's up, everybody? Today I got an update on the Dodge Dakota. The lift kit came in. We got it in the mail today, and I'm probably gonna start putting it on tonight in my garage right here. As you can see, there's the truck, and I'm gonna try to do it myself in my garage. I'll start tonight and hopefully finish it. So let me go ahead and show you the parts I got. So over here to the left, I got the box with my front 3-inch spacer, the rear 2-inch block, and everything needed to install those two parts. It also came with some stickers. I ordered these parts from this company, Supreme Suspension. So it's got these U-bolts, and then everything else is still boxed up. I haven't even looked at everything. I think these are the shims. And then this looks like the 3-inch spacer. But yeah, I'll go ahead and get everything open. What is this? I'm not sure what that is. But that's all the lift stuff. And then over here we have the differential drop. There's the pieces for it. So the reason why I'm doing the diff drop is because I'm doing a 3-inch block in the front. I mean, not block, spacer, and that's kind of big, so a diff drop is most likely needed in most applications. What else is cool about both of these companies is they included really good instructions. Like these people that sold me the diff drop, these are the instructions here. I mean, there's like 6 pages of instructions, as you can see, with pictures and everything. This company was from eBay. I don't know the name of the company, but they were selling on eBay. And then this company, I bought it from their actual website, which was Supreme Suspensions. And they also included some instructions. Let's see here. I don't think there's that many pictures, but they'll do. It's pretty straightforward. I think this is going to be a lot easier than installing the diff drop. But either way, I'm going to try to tackle it by myself. So first things first, I'm going to lift up the truck. In case you're new to the channel, my Dodge Dakota is a 2009 and is completely stock suspension right now. Alright, so now that we got the wheels off, I went over the instructions. It says to remove this sway bar first, then the tie rod, and then unbolt the shock from the lower control arm. And then we're gonna unbolt the upper control arm from the steering knuckle. And then we should be able to lift this up, and then the shock should be able to slide down after we remove the 3 bolts. So you'll see what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna do it and I'll record everything. Alright, so I ran into a little problem. This nut right here is very, very, very hard to get off. Something's not right. I'm not sure what it is, if it's rusted out, but I'm having a hard time getting this nut off right here. It's really hard to use this regular size 3/8 ratchet. And this brings me to a good topic I wanted to tell you guys about. So I ended up picking up this recently from AutoZone. And I got it just because I thought it'd come in handy. And I had $20 rewards bucks that I used on it. So fully closed, it's already a little bit longer than this. And then open, let's see. When you open it all the way, this is how much longer it is than this little one right here. So this is going to give me a lot more leverage taking this off. It'll make it a lot easier. So if you guys need something like this, it's at AutoZone. So on this sway bar, once you get this top nut off, you just take off this little top plate right here. If I can get it off, there we go, and then take the bushing off, and then the bar, and then do this also on the other side, so that way, once you get them both off, the sway bar will just lift up like that, and then you can move this kind of out of the way, and the sway bar will just be right there. You can move it out the way like that, and then it'll be perfect. So now that we got the sway bar out of the way, we're gonna go ahead and unhook this tie rod. Got the upper control arm separated from the steering knuckle. I thought I had a recording, but it wasn't. Basically what I did was I kind of was hitting the bottom of this because there's no threads right here. The threads start about a ½ inch up. So I was hitting this right here, and then I was kind of using the rubber mallet to hit the control arm and then kind of bang on this a little bit, and eventually it just popped right off. Alright, so it looks like I got everything disconnected now. Sway bar's out of the way, tie rod's out of the way, upper control arm is off, lower bolt for the strut assembly. So now all I got to do is undo these 3 top bolts, and this whole strut assembly should be able to come right out. This is everything that came in the Supreme Suspensions lift kit. We got the 2 front spacers, 2 rear blocks, some shims to shim the blocks, I guess, and we got the rear U-bolts, a bunch of hardware for everything, a few stickers, air freshener, bottle opener. That's just some extra stuff they threw in there. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the Supreme Suspension stuff I got. So I'm just about ready to put these on the truck, but I gotta figure out this hardware first. I think these Allen bolts here go in here. I think you gotta screw these in first. Yeah, so I gotta get all these screwed in to where they're coming out of this side. Okay, so with my little Allen wrench, I went ahead and screwed them all the way in. And then, so now that's like that. So now that we got it like that, I think we can go ahead and mount this onto the strut now. So we're just going to set it on top of there. And then I'm going to use the supplied, I mean not supplied, these are the factory bolts that we took off to get the strut off of the car. So we're going to reuse these ones now in there. So I just got to finish tightening it up with my ratchet here. And these bolts are going to be, they're supposed to be torqued to 40 foot-pounds. So when you're ready to torque down your bolts on the spacers, what worked great for me was to put it on the bench and then clamp that part of the shock, and it gives you perfect access to go ahead and torque down the 3 bolts in here to 40 foot-pounds if you're going to torque yours. It holds it nice and steady for you, so that's just a little tip. If anyone has a vise, they can do that. So I now have both spacers mounted onto the shock assemblies, so we're ready to go put them back on the truck now. And I'm doing both of them at the same time. It's easier to do, like, so I took apart this one, the other ones obviously already took apart, and then I'm just going to put them both back in at the same time. So I'll put this one in, the other one in, bolt it all back up, and then the spacer job will be done. Alright, so I ran into a huge problem. I'm not sure what I'm going to do to fix this. Check it out. So as I'm installing the shock assembly with the new spacer, as you can see right there, there's the spacer. I got the top bolts already through and threaded on. I got the bottom bolt through. That one's threaded, but not too tight, just enough for right now. And so now the next step I'm supposed to do is connect this ball joint here to the steering knuckle here. But they're very far away from each other, and to get them to get closer to each other, you're supposed to use a jack, which I have here under the control arm, and then you can jack it to bring the control arm up closer to the upper control arm to be able to attach them two together. But I already got my jack jacked up as much as I can to where it's not even close enough to that upper control arm. And I have it jacked up as much as I can. It's already jacked up so high that the car came off of the frame already. I mean, the frame came off of the jack stand. So I can't jack it up any more than that, because the whole car just lifts, the whole truck just lifts up. So I can't compress that spring more to get this closer. So my second idea was to get a ratchet strap. And I strapped it to this part of the control arm and to the bottom of the control arm down there. So it's strapped to the upper control arm and lower control arm. So I'm ratcheting these together to see if maybe if I can lower this upper control arm close enough to reach this. And even that's not working. So I don't know what to do, because I got this thing jacked all the way up with the jack. I got ratchet straps pulling the upper control arm down together to get it closer, and this is how close I got it so far. It's almost there, as you can see, but it's not quite there. I still need about an inch or two, about 2 inches to get it to go in there, which is not going to happen because, like I said, it's already jacked up on from the floor jack as high as it can go. Because now the truck's the whole frickin' truck's lifting up. So I really don't know what to do. I think this 3-inch spacer is not supposed to go on this truck. Yeah, this doesn't seem right. I shouldn't have to do all this just to get the steering knuckle connected to the upper control arm. This is way too much. The plan B is I'm thinking of going to the auto parts store tomorrow and getting a spring compressor. If I can compress this spring together, that's another way of getting this closer to that upper control arm to get it on. But yeah, if I do that, Yeah, it just doesn't seem right. None of this seems right. Alright, well I hate to say this, but I've came to the conclusion that these 3-inch spacers do not work on my truck. I don't know if it's because it's a 4-wheel drive or what, but they're just not working. Like, I know how to put these on and they're not going on right. So I'm gonna send these 3-inch spacers back, these ones right here. And then I'm gonna get the 2-inch ones instead and try those. Those should work. If I can't get the 2 inches on, then I don't know what the hell is going on with this truck. It might not even have the original shocks and struts. I really don't know what's up with it, but I'm sending these spacers back and I'm gonna get the 2-inch ones and we'll try those. Alright guys, so it's the very next day. I went ahead and sent the spacers back. They're going to resend out some 2-inch front spacers and a 1-inch rear block. So instead of doing 3-inch in the front and 2-inch in the back, I'm going with a 2-inch in the front and a 1-inch in the back. And the reason is because the 3-inch doesn't work with the 4-wheel drives, so that's why I'm going with 2-inch. But while those parts are being sent back, that way they can send me the new ones, I'm going to do the diff drop in the time being. So right now I got the diff drop taken out of the box, and I'm going to go into the truck and lower the rear differential, the front diff, lower the front diff, put the little spacer kits on, and then that'll be ready for when we get the shocks spacers in the mail. So this is everything that came with the front differential drop kit. Bag of hardware, bracket, another one, and then these 2 smaller ones. These will all be used to lower the front diff. There's 3 main brackets that hold the differential, and then this is just for the cross member, to lower the cross member, and then like I said, the hardware for everything. So I'm gonna go ahead and install this in the time being until I can get the spacer kit for these shocks in the mail. So I just finished the installation of the differential drop kit. There were some modifications that did have to be made in order to get this thing on. It didn't come ready from the seller that I bought it from. There were a couple things I had to do. Now let me go down and show you. Alright, so for the Dakota, there's 3 main brackets that hold the front differential. And these brackets allow the differential to drop down about 2 inches or so, or almost 2 inches. There's one bracket here on the passenger side, as you can see right there. It's made out of steel. It's got 2 bolts on top that bolt into the original place, and then the other bolts bolt right onto this the differential arm. And then over here on the driver's side, as you can see right there, is another bracket that I installed for the driver's side of the differential. And then, but there's also one more bracket on the driver's side that I'll show you right down here. As you can see, it's right there. We got one there and one back there. And then also what you're gonna have to do is install these brackets that are also supplied with the kit. This lowers the cross member on the frame. It lowers this side down to be able to clear the front diff. So the company that sold me this kit, the bolts that they provided for this weren't long enough for some reason, so I had to go to the hardware store and buy these bolts right here. The other ones were almost an inch shorter and they didn't work, so I don't know why the dude supplied that in the kit, but I had to get my own bolts that were long enough. And then the other modification I had to do was make these extension little tubes for the front skid plate, because as you can see, it's barely clearing the differential. And I went and found these little spacer metal spacers at Lowe's. I think they were like $1 each, and I just put those there. I also had to buy the bolts, as you see there, and that made my front skid plate about 1.25 inches lower to be able to clear the differential. And that's pretty much it. And the whole drop kit is differential drop kit is installed. Now that that's done, I finally received the parts in the mail. The new spacers for the struts. Here it is. New spacer, and then U-bolts for the rear spacer. Remember, I ordered a new kit. I went from the other kit I had was 2 inches rear and 3 inches in the front. Now I went to 1 inch rear and 2 inch in the front. So we're gonna get started on the front right now. Alright, got the spacer on the strut assembly. So let's go ahead and I'm gonna start trying to put it on the passenger side. Well, I'm halfway done installing the front spacers, but I just want to show you guys, if you are attempting to do this to your Dakota, you are going to need ratchet straps, and you're going to need to strap it there and to the bottom of the control arm, and you're going to need to strap it as tight as you can to get this upper control arm low enough to reach this knuckle. I barely just have it enough, so I'm going to put a bolt there and start tightening it. I also have 2 jacks. This one's jacking up the lower control arm there. This one's jacking up right under the brake drum. You're going to need both of those and a strap just to be able to get this close enough to this upper arm to be able to bolt it. So if you have all this, you can probably do it, but I'll just say right now it is pretty hard. One more thing. On certain models of Dakotas, you will have to grind down a little bit of metal on the control arm to be able to clear this back part of the strut. I guess the way, since it's got about 1.5 inches more length to the shock arm, for some reason it rubs on the arm, so you just have to grind down a little bit of metal right there just to be able to clear it. Alright, so the truck's still jacked up, but as you can see, I'm finally done installing the spacers. There's one there. And we got one there. And wheels are installed, so all I got to do now is just take those jack stands out and we'll see how level it is. But I still got to do the back blocks eventually. Well, I just took the jacks off. It does look like the front is higher than the back, but it might just need to settle in. I gotta take it out on the street so I can really see how it looks. But in the garage, that's how it looks right now. But I still gotta put the backs on, remember. So right now it's just the front spacers on, which is, I think they're 2 or 2.5 inch spacers. And then I got 1 inch ones going in the back, so that'll lift the back up a little bit. That's how it looks as of right now. Alright, so I took the truck out, I drove it around a little bit, and the front didn't really settle down. It's still kind of higher than the back. So I'm going to go ahead and just pull it in the garage and install the rear blocks. These are the ones I'm going to be installing. It came with these little shims. I'm not sure if I'm going to need to use them or not. This is a billet aluminum solid piece. Now that I got the truck jacked up and supported and I got the wheel off, first thing I'm going to do is just go down and disconnect the shocks from the axle right there. I think I'm just going to leave them up on top, but I'm just going to disconnect the bottoms of both shocks. Okay, rear shocks are disconnected. Now I'm going to take off these 4 bolts here and then lower these U bolts down. Well, I put the camera down for a little bit and pretty much got everything done. Got the new U-bolts on, got the spacers right there, and bolts. It came with all new hardware. The only thing I had to reuse was this top plate here. Got the shocks bolted back in, and let's put it down and see how it looks. Alright guys, so here is the finished product. Do a quick little walk around. So this is what it looks like with a 2-inch spacer in the front and a 1-inch block in the back. Now I am on kind of unlevel surface right now, it's gravel, but it gives you a pretty good idea of what it's going to look like. Back up a little bit to kind of show what it looks like from afar. I think it came out pretty good. So next step is just to get some wheels and tires. That'll lift it up just a little bit more because they'll be bigger than these tires, and then get the exhaust. But that's it for this install.